Season 1 of The Diplomat opens with a terrorist attack against a British aircraft carrier in the Persian Gulf, resulting in the deaths of 41 sailors. Believing Iran to be responsible and fearing the rising tensions between the country with both the US and the UK, United States President William Rayburn and his Chief of Staff Billie Appiah assigned diplomat Kate Wyler to be the US's new ambassador to the UK to defuse a potential international crisis. Kate arrives in London with her husband Hal, a diplomat at a stalemate in his career, longing for an enviable posting of his own. Their contrasting careers have strained the Wyler's marriage, leading them to the verge of divorce. Unbeknownst to Kate, Appiah wants to groom her as a potential replacement for the Vice President of the US. At her new posting, Kate meets her colleagues, Deputy Chief of Mission Stuart Hayford and CIA Station Chief Eidra Park, who are in a secret relationship of their own. While meeting with the UK's Prime Minister Nicol Trowbridge and Foreign Secretary Austin Dennison, Trowbridge reveals his concerns and frustrations to Kate over President Rayburn's hostility toward Iran. When Kate declares that she is finally ready to officially end her marriage, Hal reveals that she is being considered for the vice presidency. As Kate considers this opportunity, she first rebukes Hal for scheming behind her back to get her the position, all in an attempt to save their marriage and advance his own failing career. Despite this, Kate later falls back into bed with her estranged husband. With the Wyler's marriage on uncertain grounds, Hal grows closer to Dennison's sister Cecilia, leading to the two sharing a kiss. Meanwhile, Stuart is tasked by Appiah to put his former campaign manager skills to work and further mold Kate into a potential vice president. Hal is contacted by the foreign minister of Iran, who swears his country is not responsible for the terrorist attack. Kate, Stuart, and Eidra work together to uncover the truth behind Iran's involvement, meeting with the country's ambassador, who points them toward Roman Linkov, the head of a Russian mercenary group that was supposedly responsible for the terrorist attack. Unfortunately, before being able to provide any more information, the ambassador drops dead from a heart attack. Kate, Hal, and Stuart take this revelation to Trowbridge and Dennison. The hasty Trowbridge wants to take military action against Russia, but the diplomatic Dennison warns that this could lead to a nuclear retaliation. As Kate and Dennison work closely together in their attempts to sway Trowbridge toward diplomatic sanctions over all-out war, they also begin to develop romantic feelings for each other. Eventually, everyone comes to the compromise of a targeted attack on Linkov soldiers occupying Libya. Trowbridge agrees to this proposal, but US Secretary of State Miguel Ganon opposes it in an attempt to make President Rayburn look bad so that Ganon can try to steal the presidency for himself. Hal realizes these machinations and helps Kate convince Rayburn to overrule Ganon and approve the military action. With Ganon's machinations exposed, Rayburn secretly makes plans to fire him, leading Hal to concoct a scheme to have himself named the United States' new Secretary of State. After making a speech about doing whatever is necessary, Hal catches the attention of an extremely conservative member of parliament named Merritt Grove. Grove offers to meet with Hal to discuss supporting his efforts in being named Secretary of State, leaving Kate even more upset with her estranged husband's selfish career plotting. Meanwhile, after learning that Stuart plans on leaving London to work alongside Kate in DC should she officially be named Vice President, Eidra becomes furious and distraught. Stuart had previously convinced Eidra to not take a new assignment in Cairo so that they could continue their romance, but he refuses to show her the same courtesy. And so, Eidra breaks up with Stuart. With the Libya plan set, Kate meets with the Russian ambassador to inform him of the attack, leading to the ambassador denouncing any Russian involvement with Linkov's mercenary group, and even supplying the location of Linkov himself in France. Realizing she can avoid military action altogether, Kate convinces both President Rayburn and Prime Minister Trowbridge to abort their Libya mission and instead arrest Linkov in France. Kate and Dennison travel to Paris to seek the support of French officials in arresting Linkov on their soil. The official meeting takes place at a massive party inside the Louvre, where Kate's red dress turns many heads, including the head of her forbidden crush Dennison. At the party, Kate meets the French Minister of the Interior, Brielle Fournier, who agrees to allow action to be taken against Linkov in France, though claims that instead of the intended arrest, she has received intel that the British plan on assassinating the mercenary leader. Kate is blindsided by this news, feeling especially betrayed by Dennison. Dennison assures her that he is just as shocked by this revelation as she is, and that's when the pair realize that Trowbridge wants Linkov dead so that he can't be apprehended, and reveal that it was in fact the Prime Minister Minister himself, who staged the terrorist attack in an attempt to set himself up as a hero to the public. As the season comes to a close, Hal arrives for a meeting with Merrick Grove, despite Kate's demands for him not to. Kate's loyal ally Stuart arrives to stop the meeting just as a bomb explodes in Groves' car, leaving the fates of everyone in the area unknown. In The Diplomat, the personal secrets of political leaders from around the world leading to international crises are all works of fiction. But when it comes to your own personal and private data online, the threat is very real. I mean, just look at this redacted report showing what information data brokers could be collecting from you. I'm talking your name, age, address, even the private information of your family, neighbors, and associates, all being sold by data brokers to potential scammers, spammers, and stalkers. This is super scary stuff, and now that my wife and I have just had our first child, I want to be as proactive as possible in protecting my family's online data. And that's where today's sponsor Aura comes in. Basically, if you've ever received a spam call or email, it's because a data broker has collected and sold your data. They can do this without your consent and profit billions of dollars selling your personal and private information to marketers, scammers, and even stalkers. While they're legally required to remove your data if asked, they can make this process confusing, difficult, and exhausting. But Aura takes care of the entire process for you, not only ensuring your data is removed from these sites, but stays gone for good. Maybe you're already using some other digital security service or VPN, but without Aura, that's like locking the front door but leaving the back door unlocked. With just one app, Aura offers alerts if your personal information is found on the dark web, real-time fraud alerts for credit and banking, 24/7 identity theft monitoring, US-based around-the-clock support, plus a VPN password manager, antivirus, and more. Plus, if anything ever does go wrong, Aura offers $5 million in identity theft insurance protection, and they have US fraud experts available 24/7. So try Aura for free for 14 days at aura.com/recapandchill. In those 2 weeks, Aura will get to work scrubbing your personal information off of these data broker sites. I'm not leaving myself vulnerable, and you shouldn't either. So thanks to Aura for sponsoring this video. Now let's get back to the recap. In Season 2 of The Diplomat, Hal and Stuart survive the bombing, though both are critically injured. Tragically, Grove and a US Embassy officer named Ronnie are both killed. Kate races back to London, distraught over the attack and the near death of her husband Hal and friend Stuart. As Stuart physically recovers, he struggles from PTSD over the attack, and his memories become fuzzy, including believing that Ronnie was inside during the explosion, making their death suspicious. Meanwhile, as Hal recovers from his injuries, he gives Kate his blessing to end their marriage and pursue a relationship with Dennison. But Kate is more confused than ever about where her head and heart truly lie. Kate confides in Eidra her concerns that Prime Minister Trowbridge was responsible for hiring Linkov to carry out the terrorist attack, and now this car bomb is some sort of cover-up. While Dennison investigates his and Kate's suspicions, he discovers that Grove's Conservative Party was in fact receiving large donations from Russia. Knowing that the British government is planning to assassinate Linkov for the terrorist attack, Kate and Dennison attempt to save him so they can interrogate him for answers on who hired his team of mercenaries. But unfortunately, their plan fails, and Linkov is killed. Elsewhere, Margaret Royland, a leader in the Conservative Party and trusted advisor of Trowbridge, goes missing. Publicly, Trowbridge seems obsessive in wanting to uncover who was behind the bombing and orders everyone to find Royland as quickly as possible, leading Kate to begin doubting whether or not he was actually involved in hiring Linkov. Royland then secretly meets with Kate and her allies to reveal all that she knows about the British government's connection to the Russian mercenaries. Extremist conservative government leaders, including Grove, had hired Linkov to attack the British aircraft carrier, all as part of a mysterious, sinister plot to prevent Scottish independence. When Kate began looking into her husband Hal's new political ally Grove's co-conspirators believed that she had uncovered the extremist plot, and so they had him killed to ensure his silence. Stuart grows bitter toward Kate, now blaming her for the car bomb and the death of the innocent Ronnie. Believing that Kate has become more focused on her romantic relationship with Dennison than the diplomatic relationship between the US and UK, Stuart warns Billie Appiah that he no longer believes her to be a worthy vice presidential candidate. This only concerns Appiah about Stuart's behavior, and sends a spy to investigate him, learning of his frustration with his superiors and the government, and leading to concerns that he may have been recruited by the Russians. Ultimately, Stuart realizes that his trauma from the bombing has affected his work and mental state, leading to him reconciling professionally with Kate. As he tries to romantically reconcile with Eidra, she bitterly turns him down. Meanwhile, Dennison successfully rallies a vote of no confidence against Trowbridge within Parliament due to his presumed ties to Linkov, which will force him to step down as Prime Minister. A plan is staged to inform Trowbridge of this coup at a 4th of July party, but unfortunately, the British public largely support Trowbridge's authorization of Linkov's assassination. Feeling pressured by the public, many of Dennison's supporters change their vote, ruining the plot to force Trowbridge into resigning. Dennison remains resolved to bring Trowbridge down and announces to Kate his intentions to independently expose Trowbridge's involvement in the aircraft carrier terrorist attack, even if it means destroying his own political career. Royland then confesses that Trowbridge had no knowledge or involvement in the terrorist attack, as Royland herself had ordered Linkov to strike the aircraft carrier as a false flag event to unify the nation and prevent Scotland from seeking independence. To prove Royland's claims and judge Trowbridge's involvement, Kate and Eidra have Royland confess to the Prime Minister. Upon learning of Royland's involvement in the attacks, Trowbridge attacks her before Kate and her allies intervene, finally believing that the Prime Minister is innocent. US Vice President Grace Penn arrives in London, warning everyone that they need to keep quiet about Royland and the British extremist plot, as if the Russian government finds out that they've been framed for an attack orchestrated by Britain, it could lead to international political turmoil. As Kate bonds with Penn, she realizes that she is a good vice president, leading Kate to no longer wanting the job. But that's when Hal drops another bombshell on her. It was Vice President Penn who convinced Royland to execute the false flag attack. With this revelation, Kate is now determined to oust Penn and become the new Vice President of the United States. As the season comes to a close, Dennison ends his romance with Kate, realizing that their feelings for each other may compromise their very important jobs of protecting the citizens of their countries. And so, Dennison chooses to remain focused on helping steer Trowbridge toward the right political decisions. Penn then confesses to Kate the real reason she orchestrated the aircraft carrier bombing. Scotland not only houses the UK's nuclear arsenal, but it is also where all of the US's European-based nuclear submarines are stationed as the last line of defense against nuclear attacks. If Scotland gains its independence, the US and UK would both become vulnerable to the ever-growing Russian nuclear threat. And so, Penn chose to stage the false flag event, not realizing that dozens of lives would be lost in the process. Though ultimately, Penn believes that sacrifice was worth it to protect countless lives from a potential Russian nuclear attack. Kate concedes that Penn made the right decision, but Hal is adamant that this act should lead to her impeachment and Kate being named as her replacement. And so, Hal goes behind his wife's back to call US President Rayburn and inform him of Penn's actions. Unfortunately, the shock of this news causes Rayburn to have a heart attack and die. As Kate and Penn have a tense discussion on the merits of Penn's actions and Kate's plot to become vice president, Hal frantically calls his wife to alert her that this conversation was all for nothing, as Grace Penn is now the president of the United States.